Welcome aboard, Captain. Hydra online. Current location, dead zone. Depth, 800 meters. Distance to signal, 1 kilometer. Radar contact. Welcome aboard, Captain. Hydra online. Current location, dead zone. Depth, 800 meters. Distance to signal.
Sorry guys, I'm having some technical difficulties here. I think this has worked. I think this works now.
Welcome aboard, Captain. Hydra online. Current location, dead zone. Depth, 800 meters. Distance to signal, 1 kilometer. Radar contact.
System report. Hull integrity low. Oxygen reserves low. Shields offline. Jump drive offline. Anomaly detected. Get closer for detailed info. Anomaly detected. Anomaly detected. Get closer. Anomaly. Get closer for detailed info. Come closer. Come closer. Anomaly cataloged. Hull repairs recommended.
Alright guys. This is the idea by a YouTuber called Aki. Right now, this is not a thing in Subnautica as of now. However, you can help fund the project. You'll get more details over on Aki's channel than me because, well, he's the creator of it. I'm only just letting there be awareness because, believe it or not, just before I started streaming, I was actually playing Subnautica. I looked at my phone and went, oh, a new Subnautica Call of the Void ping from Aki. And I went, oh, could I see this video? Okay, I need to share this. Because now it's going to be a thing, knowing it's more than likely going to be a thing now, I thought I should just let word be out, and yeah. Anyways, we're going to be reacting to all of the videos that have been done on Call of the Void by Aki. So, there's not many, about 6-ish, 7-ish, I think. But let's actually get reacting. But first I need to...
Hey there, I'm Aki, and you're here to learn more about Call of the Void. Wait, get out of my face. There we go. In this deep dive, we'll be going over what exactly Call of the Void is, how it works, and what's included. This is a general overview, and if you'd like to know more about some of the specifics, I'll make more videos on several different topics later, so subscribe and click the bell to stay tuned. I first thought of Call of the Void almost 4 years ago, but only started really working on it when Subnautica content started to dry up about a year and a half ago. I mean, if we don't get new content, I'll just make it myself. Now, you've seen the trailer, I'm super...
That's pretty much every game ever. If the game doesn't come out with new good content, just make the new content yourself. Then done, you've got some new content. Anyways. Oh, by the way, Aki, if you do end up seeing this, I honestly can't actually wait for this mod of Call of the Void, and can't wait for it to actually be a thing. Anyways, let's actually continue watching it, otherwise we're just going to be here for about half an hour with me just saying how awesome this mod would be. Anyways.
Super proud of it, but what is Call of the Void? Call of the Void is a hypothetical Subnautica DLC. It was made to be something you could actually see the Subnautica devs come up with in case they decided to create a DLC for the game. I think Subnautica has a bunch of unused potential, and I'm not just talking Leviathans. I think if they decided to make a DLC for the game, it would give it so much more replayability, and it would have been really cool to see, but I think it's a bit late for that now. Which is why I've come up with this. Specifically, I think the Void has a bunch of unused potential, so expanding on that was one of the main goals for this DLC, which is where the name Call of the Void comes from, because hey, you're going to the Void.
Duh.
I generally just wanted to expand on what I think the biggest strengths of Subnautica are, and in my opinion, those are exploration.
Right.
And on what I think the biggest strengths of Subnautica are. And in my I'm sorry, because hey, you're going to the void.
Duh.
That one has the
generally just want
moves.
to expand on what I think the biggest strengths of Subnautica are. And in my opinion, those are exploration, submarines, and horror. But of course there would also be many more features and other creatures. And I have lots of ideas for unique horror encounters the player could have. But I don't want to spoil those too much. Of course, the tentacles and worm from the original trailer would be a part of these.
Might I say, a void version of the Reaper Leviathan. That would be terrifying. Like, say it could just camouflage in with the darkness. Like, even if it's right up against the glass of your, Hydra. If it's right up against the glass of your Hydra, you still won't be able to see it. And it's only when it actually notices you, its, claws at the end of its head, just glow up. Its head just glows up, and you just see it in the dark, and you go, Anyways, then brain go brrr. Brain go brrr when I'm thinking too much. Anyways.
My other goals for this DLC were adding new biomes and areas to the map, including new non-Leviathan creatures, because I think most people place too much focus on big scary Leviathans alone, without giving some well-deserved love to new kinds of fish and regular creatures, and the ecosystem as a whole. Also, adding new game mechanics, new technology and submarines, and expanding on the story of Subnautica were some goals as well. We wouldn't change the original story, just add onto it and explain some stuff in ways you might not have expected. But you'd of course also have to defend yourself against new aggressive creatures, Leviathans and other threats. For that, you can get some of the most sophisticated protection technology Altera has developed. NordVPN. Okay, but
Smooth. Just smooth. The smoothest transition to a sponsor I have ever seen. So apparently Altera developed NordVPN. Congrats! Hey! That is extremely advanced. I mean extremely advanced. It's a top-notch thing you could ever get. Anyways, you guys probably know all about NordVPN at this point from the amount of YouTube videos you've watched which has the sponsor on it. So I'll just go.
if you'd like to support this project and the channel, click the link in the description. Huge
There you
thanks
go.
to Nord, we wouldn't have been able to do this without them. And let's get back to the video. What would Call of the Void actually change? First, we are retconning the meteor that crashed on the planet a long time ago. In the current game, you can find a small crater left by it in the dunes, which the architects used to build a cache in, and that's about it. Pretty boring stuff. In the new version, it was much bigger, and actually knocked off chunks of the crater into the void. There, some of them were supported by ancient floaters turning into underwater floating islands, each with a unique ecosystem and creatures.
So from what I'm getting from this Aki is in the void there is a new type of floater. Because normally floaters would either float things up all the way to the surface if there's enough of them, or keep them just enough buoyancy. But if they're elder, they should technically float them up to the surface, should they not? Unless if the islands are extremely heavy. But, unless if they're a different type of floater. Different species of floater, which have evolved to only live in the void, so they will not go up higher than the void itself. But I'm just thinking of how the floaters were there would work. Anyways.
Before establishing the primary containment facility for the Emperor, The precursors built several science outposts in what we're now calling the Void Clusters, to research unique crystals that formed on these islands. They hoped that these crystals would be the answer to curing themselves from the Kura, before they figured out the stuff with the Emperor. The islands vary in size, with bigger islands being further away from the crater and much deeper and harder to reach. Reaching deeper and further islands is tied to the progression system. Using the Cyclops, you would only be able to reach the first couple of islands, since, as you can see, the rest is way too deep. But for a better chance to get past the Ghost Leviathans in the Void, you'll also be able to craft a new Cyclops upgrade, the Stealth Module. This would allow you to become cloaked at a high energy cost, to reach those first few islands without becoming Leviathan food. There wouldn't be much on these, but you'll find a few resources and important blueprints to allow you to construct the Hydra submarine, with which you can go much deeper. So this is how they could be laid out. These are the first few islands you can actually reach with your Cyclops. Then over here are the first few islands you need the Hydra to reach. Then there's the next cluster you need to upgrade your Hydra to reach. And then there's another cluster you need even further upgrades to get to. As you can see, the further down and out you go, the bigger the islands get and the more interesting stuff you will find there. Of course, between all of these islands there will be a lot of different anomalies and encounters you can have. And this is where the actual new gameplay starts. But how would you know where to go and where these islands are? For the first few islands, you will receive signals from various precursor facilities on the crater leading you to them. But the other ones, you will have to find using the Hydra sonar. This is a new game mechanic which we'll go over in detail in the Hydra deep dive. But the sonar basically will always show you a vague direction in which you can go to discover anomalies. Now, you don't know what exactly these anomalies are until you get close enough. Usually, it'll be an island. But it could also be something else. There are a few different types of anomalies which we will also go over.
So, there's a sea creature which can disguise itself as an island. Unless... No, I have another theory on what that could be. Because you'll see where this theory comes in later on, but the theory is... So the hypnosis fish that we've seen in I believe it's Subnautica Below Zero. Or Subnautica itself, I'm not sure which one. They might be in both, they might be in one, I'm not sure which exactly, because I can't remember. Anyways, there's in Call of the Void, there is a Leviathan class version of it, essentially. Which, it will either trick you in thinking your systems are saying to come closer to scan it, when it's actually just luring you in. And as you get closer, because you may have heard in the trailer for it, as you get closer, the words get a bit more corrupt. But in that case, it might be making you see it as an island instead. Meaning, we definitely have some form of an extremely intelligent life besides the Emperor Leviathan. Which is surprising to me.
In the Hydra deep dive video, and you can expect that to come out in a couple of weeks. Using the sonar, you'll be able to explore deeper and further away islands to find ways to upgrade your submarine, to go even deeper without getting lost in the void, and of course, survive stronger opponents and encounters. Of course, you'll also find new creatures, new plants, new tech,
Ooh, a
and
void
learn more
keeper.
about what exactly the precursors
Oh!
are doing out there. If you want to know more about that, there will also be a deep dive video.
Whoa! That thing is terrifying. If I saw that in the void, I'd be running the complete opposite direction, no matter how big it is.
Precursors were doing out there. If you want to know more about that, there will also be a deep dive video on the precursor facilities. So subscribe to see that as soon as it comes out and stuff. Or just check the end card to see all the deep dives that are out when you're watching this video. Of course, this is all hypothetical so far, and there's no mod for it. Yet. but it all depends on you. If this video and series gets enough views and likes from people to show there's an actual interest in this mod, I'll get together a team of modders to make this a reality. Of course, with all these models for the trailer, we have a lot of the work done already. So if this is something you would like to see, make sure to let me know and share the video with your friends. After so many months of working on this project, I really want some feedback, so leave some comments with your thoughts or join my Discord server and let me know your opinion or ideas there. Now, getting back to the precursor facilities. For now, I'll tell you some basics. When they were built, the architects designed them as research and testing facilities to experiment on the different kinds of crystals and their effects, in hopes of finding something to cure the Kra. These crystals are a main part of the DLC, and you can make use of their unique properties too. So these facilities will be the main place for you to learn about new technology and how to use these crystals to your advantage. Your PDA will synthesize blueprints combining Altera and precursor technology to make use of the crystals and any other resources on these islands, or you'll find fully functioning precursor tech. I wanted to make these precursor bases a bit more interesting than...
Real quickly, if you do watch this hacking, just wanted to say, it'd be cool like if you had to upgrade your... thinking, brain go, brain shutting down, brain melt. See, thinking is hard. Why does thinking have to exist? Thinking should not exist. Thinking should just be simple. Thinking should not be hard. The fabricator, to like a void crystal fabricator, which can actually craft anything, really anything out of the crystals. Honestly, just spitting out ideas. Doesn't have to exist, but I'm just spitting out ideas that I just thought of that I think would be cool in the mod. Anyways, continuing now, because we have a whole bunch more to get through.
And the ones you're used to though, so you'll have more obstacles than just a few locked doors to get past to get through this technology and advance the story. And of course, the void is dangerous, so the precursors had to protect the facilities from the horrors in the dark. From the horrors in the dark.
I swear that looks like hands right there. Maybe not. But I actually think I know what this is from. Because I was watching a video on the premiere from Aki. And I think I might know what that is. My mouse is going all over the place. Stop. 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 There we go. I think I might know what this is. Well, it's here somewhere. I'm pretty sure that is it. Yeah, it is, because this is the precursor facility. That is the Leviathan. You'll see what I mean.
And hey, if you go deep enough, maybe you'll find a familiar face.
Alan? It looks like Alan.
And that's the general deep dive for Subnautica Call of the Void. Again, keep an eye out for future deep dives, like and share the video, and let me know what you think in the comments on my Discord server. This has been the biggest project of my entire life, so thank you so much to each and every one of you who supported me and shared it with their friends. But for now, thank you very much for watching, I really hope you enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see you next time. Goodbye!
Next video is this one.
Hey there, I'm Aki. I made Call of the Void, and there was actually a lot that went wrong with making the trailer. So, here's some behind the scenes. Way back in 2019, I was talking to some modders regarding a mod idea I had about islands in the void you could go and explore with a new submarine. Sound familiar? This didn't end up working out, sadly, but when Subnautica content started to dry up about 2 years ago, I decided to revisit the idea. Some of you might know this, but I'm actually a 3D artist, and I just asked some of my friends at my academy if they wanted to help out, and yes, they did. So I just started sketching a rough storyboard for what I envisioned the trailer to look like. Now, my abysmal art skills aside, please don't judge me, I think you can see that we actually stayed really close to the original vision of the trailer. The only thing we decided to add later on was the Mesmer Leviathan encounter. Yes, you heard that right. We'll get back to that.
The Mesmer fish, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm just thinking of the Mesmer fish.
Okay? The next step was obviously getting an actual reference and concept art for everything. This took quite a while, but we ended up commissioning artists on Fiverr, and one of them, for example, drew art of the 2 islands which we wanted to model and have in the trailer. We also went in Subnautica and took a bunch of screenshots for every possible thing we could possibly want in the trailer. As for the submarine, that's actually an old Subnautica concept. If you've been following me for a few years, you might even remember that I let you guys vote on what to call this submarine. So you were actually the ones that decided on the name Hydra. We actually ended up using a bunch of old Subnautica concepts that were never used, since that's the easiest way to get the style right, and that's a big thing. Like, Subnautica has a very recognizable art style, so getting that right was a big challenge. But we also looked at fan-made concepts. The Lumiosidon, or Treader as it was originally called, was actually one we implemented in the trailer. This is a really old fan-made concept from before the actual sea treaders came out. So the artist just predicted there would be walking sea creatures called Treader in the game, which I find hilarious. In my opinion, this underwater giraffe is much cuter though. Since we knew crystals were also going to play a big part in Call of the Void, we just had to find a way to incorporate them into the creatures for reasons I won't get into just yet. For the Lumizardon, it already had some glowing spots, so we just used those, but we also wanted a new version of a peeper. So an artist friend of mine came up with some concepts, and we actually ended up using this one. We did also have a void peeper, but that ended up being scrapped because it just didn't look good.
So not that they avoid peeper then, if they already scrapped the void peeper, more like a void crystal peeper. More like a crystal peeper.
Enough concepting for now. Let's get into the making of the actual trailer. I've decided to just have some of the earlier models and versions of the trailer playing in the background, because some people really enjoy that stuff apparently, while I talk about some of the challenges we had, because there were quite a few. Yeah, this was not easy, which is why it took 2 years. If this scene looked familiar to you, but you didn't quite know why, let me refresh your memory. This was originally supposed to be this scene from an earlier Subnautica concept. The single cell biome, yes.
I still remember that concept actually from a little while ago. Terrifying concept. Because imagine you're just in your... Not Seamoth. Brain go derpy again. Where's my brain going derpy? Anyways. Let's see. Think. Imagine you're in your Cyclops, and then all of a sudden, a black goo just comes up and grabs you and starts dragging you down to your inevitable demise. I would just freak out. I would be screaming for my life, going, "Help me, I don't want to die." Anyways, let's continue.
You got that right. But since we didn't actually have an animator on our team, and I did all the animations, which was awful, by the way, I suck at this. I just didn't think I could pull off that. And we had a really hard time actually getting the model for those vines to look good as well. So we decided to just go for tentacles. If in doubt, do tentacles. Yeah, that usually works out with Subnautica. Or teeth or tentacles. Good thing there was a suspicious amount of tentacle tutorials on YouTube. However, I do not recommend looking up tentacle references. Trust me. The things I have seen.
And that, my friends, was the sound of trauma. He's seen things that he wish he could unsee, but he cannot unsee, unfortunately. Why did that rhyme? Concerning. Definitely.
Okay, but my notes here just say chair now, so let me explain why this project made me start hating chairs. In the storyboard, you can see the character standing in the submarine, but since the Hydra is supposed to be able to turn basically 90 degrees sideways, they would just fall over whenever they do that. So we had to come up with a way for them to sit in a chair and still pilot the submarine. Now we thought about making some sort of gyro chair that rotated to counter the submarine rotation, but that would have just blown our budget out of the water. So that's why we decided to go for a normal, everyday sci-fi chair. And you would not believe how scarce concepts for sci-fi chairs that would even remotely fit into Subnautica are. So not only did we have to model the chair, we also had to come up with a concept or design that looks like it fits in Subnautica and also still looks sci-fi. None of us are designers or concept artists, mind you, so we have no idea how to do any of this stuff. So this simple chair took 2 months. Yeah. The fish schools...
2 months for a simple chair. I would definitely start hating chairs after that. I would see a chair and just throw it out my window. And just go. Well, my job here is done.
Did actually not take that long. Because they are not animated by hand, because 1, I'm just not good enough for that, and 2, it was taking ages, but they're actually just a particle system that we told to follow a certain point and do some weird movements along the way, and I think it ended up looking really good. Another particle system we used was for the teleportation effect, and I think that came out really nice. Let's get back to the Mesmer Leviathan I talked about earlier. This transition section between the 2 islands is supposed to symbolize an anomaly, as you could encounter it in the game. Like usual, your submarine informs you of an anomaly, but if you seem to be ignoring it, it will suddenly start insisting more and more to check it out. And if you get close enough, well, the Mesmer Leviathan will be very happy. The Mesmer Leviathan doesn't actually influence your submarine though. It influences your mind to make you think it's your submarine talking to you and telling you to come closer. Just like the normal Mesmer does with your PDA.
That is what I think happens with the map. I think the Mesmer Leviathan is messing with your mind, making you think that's an island, but when you get to the island, it's actually the Mesmer Leviathan. Does that make sense? Hopefully it makes sense. And let's continue.
Why didn't we show the Mesmer Leviathan? Well, we just didn't have the time or budget to get a model or animations for it done, but I think keeping it more mysterious like we did in the trailer actually ended up working really well. The shadows you see moving past here are actually just strange bone shapes. They don't really symbolize anything. They were just there to have something hush past the camera and give you a feeling of not knowing what's out there. But if you want to know more about the Mesmer Leviathan, it will be featured in a future deep dive video. So you know the drill, subscribe, click the bell, and so on so you get notified when I upload that video. While editing, I also stumbled across this old version of the second island. It looks remarkably similar, especially when it comes to camera movement, but obviously a lot of stuff is missing, and my favorite model are the trees. Look at that, isn't that just beautiful? We also had annotations for anything we didn't have yet, so like pyramid powering up or shadow rushing past, so that was also pretty funny. I've seen some people wonder why there's a Cryptosuchus in the void, and well, it wasn't supposed to be there. We actually planned on having a different creature, this one, swim past the camera here, but again, time and budget. I know it's getting boring, but you have to remember, we were only 3 people. We did not have the time or budget to get another new model. For this creature then. So that's why we ended up replacing it with...
I paused it when I was muted. Ow. My emotions are hurt. just slightly scarred. You know, just very slightly scarred. That it hurts so much. I mean, so much. Anyways, as I was saying, is 1, this was made by 3 people. 2, this was made by 3 people. And 1, made by 3 people. 2, made by 3 people. 3, keep up the good work. Because this was only made by 3 people. This looks amazing. This looks probably better than most games could with an entire team of like 20. If I'm not going to lie.
Just a retextured version of the Cryptosuchus in Below Zero. This wouldn't actually be on the island if it was in the game, mainly because we're not allowed to backport anything from Below Zero to the original game, but also it would be kind of boring. There's actually multiple of them on this island, but again, they're supposed to all be different creatures. There was also a bunch of stuff we didn't actually...
So that Void Cryptosuchus is a placeholder. Is from what I'm getting there.
Managed to fix in the final trailer, and you can still see those mistakes. But instead of spending a ton of time on them, let's just do a lightning round. In the first scene, this is actually noise and not blinking lights, but it ended up looking cool, so we kept it. This crystal actually jumped to the final position immediately, and we had to hide it, but didn't quite work out. The floor in this scene flickers slightly. It used to be much worse, but we fixed most of it, but that fixed caused this plant to go invisible. The fog in this and the next scene is slightly noisy at the start for some reason. I don't know what caused it, but it fixed itself later on. The bubbles in this scene are reflecting the light from the island, which looks really bad. The tree colors in this scene were tracked by hand, but I messed up, so they slide to the left for a few frames. The fog on this island had some major layering problems, and I just couldn't get it fixed, so I just left it. We forgot to key out a floating fog light in this scene with a bunch of invisible creatures. In this scene, there's no floaters keeping the island afloat. Whew, okay, now let's go to rendering. Overall, we had to really optimize the scenes, since you can see even just moving in the scene itself is very laggy, which is mainly due to the kelp over here. Yeah, if I could do it again, I would just not add this kelp and decide on like a different type of biome. It was such a pain. I have no idea how they did it in Subnautica without completely killing your FPS. In case you don't know how 3D animations work, to get realistic reflections, the best quality and textures, realistic lighting and so on, you have to render them. This basically means telling your computer to go over every frame and calculate where each ray of light is coming from.
And believe me, that takes about forever and a half to get done. Cause I was just trying to do a few frames, and it took about forever and a half, and it took about an hour or 2. So having something that long had to take about a forever and a half.
From bouncing off of and finally landing. And this takes time. When it came to actually rendering this trailer, we found that we had a problem. We had so many different effects in the trailer, like the fog for the headlights and underwater mist, bubbles, simulations, collisions, the fish, and on the first island mainly the kelp, that it would either crash when trying to render or take about 5 hours per frame for the first island scene. Now mind you, that scene alone has over 2,000 frames. This means it would have taken 16 months to render that scene alone. Of course, some scenes were faster and we could actually render them in a reasonable amount of time, but we still needed that scene as well, so it was time to optimize. Luckily, our academy had a dedicated PC for rendering heavy scenes like this, and it would only take about 5 minutes per frame on that scene there. Unluckily, it didn't work. It kept crashing. Of course, what else?
That's when you know your luck has just gone down the drain.
Turns out something was wrong with that computer, and it took them 6 months to fix it. That was probably the biggest delay in releasing the trailer we had, so that was fun. We also had to disable all those fancy effects you saw earlier, like the fog and motion blur, depth of field, and so on, because they increased render time massively. So we decided to just do that in post. Big mistake. So yeah, compositing is the step where we take our renders and make them actually look good. That's quite a difference, and without it, it would not have looked nearly as good. The bad part is, this does not use layers like you might expect from Photoshop or another editing program.
Oh!
it uses nodes. Yeah. Now, to be fair, this isn't very organized, but still, it's horrible. This took like 5 months between another compositor and me to get done, and we even had help from someone who does this for a living. The biggest problem was probably that we couldn't preview anything, and actually had to render it every time we wanted to see what it looked like in motion. This is also where we added all the fancy effects, like these lens flares, or the laser, or like some particles swimming around in the ocean. And after that, it was finally done. The before and after is really quite drastic, and I hope you like the final product. And that's how we made Call of the Void. Stick around for a new deep dive next week on how exactly the Hydra submarine works. I hope you're excited for that. I also hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!
Time for the Hydra submarine.
Welcome to the future of underwater exploration. The Hydra submarine utilizes a fusion of cutting-edge Altera and Architect technology to bring you never-before-seen features. Dive into the unknown with confidence as the Hydra guides you with Altera's advanced sonar systems, while its titanium-reinforced hull, 270 degree of rotation, and unparalleled agility protect you from any danger. Customize your Hydra with a range of modules, like the Eel Escape Pod, immersive terrain mapping, and more, starting at just 1.2 million credits for the basic package.
I lost my credits. Well, this is awkward, because I lost my credits. Well, no Hydra submarine for me then. Anyways, so, might I ask, is this taking place before or during our main character in Subnautica is still on planet 4546b, or is this taking place after when he escapes and then Altera returns? And then, like, or is this like just an ad for something that the Survivor made, and then the Survivor is just making a profit off of it, just gonna like, give me your credits and I'll make you a fresh new Hydra submarine. Only for 1,200 credits. For only 1,200,000 credits. Oh, and it's also on sale. Next month it's going to be for 2 million. So it's on sale at the moment.
With optional features and modules available, the Hydra is your gateway to a future powered by Altera.
Why did that look legit low? Like it would be an actual ad from Altera. That's concerning. Why does it? By the way, if you guys are wondering if I go silent sometimes, that's because I'm mostly trying to not leave my own Subnautica game, because otherwise I'm going to lose all the progress that I made, and I'm going to be extremely sad. And sad is bad, for the sadness is sad.
Hey there,
I go
I'm
crazy
Andy,
sometimes.
And if you still aren't sold,
And no,
I
don't you dare stop.
50% discount on your first Hydra purchase.
No,
Still aren't sold,
I called
I
it.
can offer a 50% discount on your first Hydra
I called it. 50% off.
purchase. Okay, but the Hydra submarine is a core part of Subnautica Call of the Void. And in this deep dive, we're taking a closer look. If you don't know what Call of the Void is, I recommend you watch the trailer or explanation video in the top right. That should bring you up to speed to everything you need to know for this video. Plus, the trailer took a long time to make, so I just appreciate it. The Hydra submarine is your main mode of transport for exploring the Void clusters, so it has everything you might need on your journey. A main pilot compartment for submarine controls, customization and upgrades, a storage compartment in the bottom wing, a living compartment with a bed in the upper wing, and a compartment for a modular building slot. More about that later, that's pretty interesting. But how do you actually get to these compartments? There's no stairs, because, well, it's really tight in the submarine. There wasn't a lot of space to fit in stairs. So I decided to just go for elevators. These things will just come down from the ceiling or transport you down to the other room and then take you with them. That makes it very quick and easy to get to the rooms without sacrificing a lot of space. So you have the maximum amount of space while still being able to access everything. Now, for my fellow nerds, here are the specs. The Hydra's total length is 15 meters, so in between a Seamoth and Cyclops. It can move faster than both a Seamoth and Cyclops, but generates less noise to not attract attention from predators. Base power consumption is lower than the Cyclops, but every module costs extra power. It supports 207 degrees rotation of the main body and much more agile movement to be able to evade dangers better and squeeze through tight spaces. It also supports building in the main compartment, the storage compartment and the living compartment. Its space crush depth is at 1000 meters, but can be expanded through upgrades. There we go! Now that the nerds are happy, please remember that this project depends on how many people watch these videos, so if you'd like to see it become a reality, make sure to share this with your friends. When using the Hydra submarine, you'll have access to a sonar system to guide you through the void, so you don't end up like 90% of YouTubers.
No, not today! I died! Whoa! Paper!
Leviathans are scary, and we don't like Leviathans because they're scary. So yeah, the Leviathan's bad. Leviathan's definitely bad, I can tell you that much. Anyways, let's continue.
The sonar system will always point you in a vague direction to the nearest anomaly. These anomalies can be anything from an underwater floating island to a unique creature or even a Leviathan encounter. So you always have to be a little careful when approaching these anomalies to make it a bit spicier. I mean, come on, what do you expect? To be safe in the void?
Fair.
After exploring these anomalies, they're catalogued and marked as complete, and every catalogued anomaly can be used to upgrade and improve the Hydra. If you're using the map generator, catalogued anomalies will also be added to the holographic map, which means the more you explore, the easier it will be for you to navigate the area. We of course also need a way to tell the player if they're leaving the void clusters and heading towards the actual empty void, because there's nothing there except death. So I'm thinking about just having a warning system on the sonar telling you there's nothing in the direction you're going. With every other submarine in Subnautica,
Always just
oxygen is an
presentable.
afterthought. As long as you have power, you have oxygen. With the Hydra, it is a valuable resource. Your oxygen reserves last for approximately 20 minutes by default, but you can of course upgrade these. Surfacing, docking, or being hit by air bubbles will slowly refill your oxygen meter again. But because it could get very annoying if you could just run out of oxygen and die, you also have a backup generator that consumes a lot of power, but it will prevent your oxygen levels from dropping. You can of course also upgrade that to make it consume less energy, or let it slowly raise your oxygen levels again. The back room is where it gets interesting. It has a single dynamic building slot,
Back
which
room.
means one of several different upgrades can be mounted here. That could be a holographic map module, which allows you to see the areas you've explored so far and potential anomalies near you. You could also use it to install an escape pod that would safely transport you back to the safe shallows if your submarine got destroyed. I'm not actually sure on what the destruction of the submarine would look like. Like, would it just split into pieces like the Seamoth? Or would it slowly flood and start sinking like the old Cyclops? Or would it explode and leave behind a wreck like the new Cyclops? Let me know which one you prefer in the comments, because
I feel like it should be a combination of the old and new Cyclops. So like it slowly starts to flood, and then like as it's flooding and that. And it's like flooding. And when you get out, it will give you time to get out, and a few seconds after you exactly get out, it will go boom. There we go.
I'm really not
There
sure
we
of
go.
that one. If you wanted to use that fancy warp drive you saw in the trailer, this slot is where you'd put it. Or if you want to transport some of the local fauna, you could install an aquarium module too. Essentially, this is the slot for your most powerful upgrades, and while there could be a bunch of them, you only have one of them at a time. I actually have a lot of ideas for this. Another one would be to convert it to a control center for a remote controlled drone and having the screen walls give you a 360-degree vision of the drone's point of view, or alternatively just let you see through your submarine to be more aware of your surroundings. But of course, that's all just ideas at the moment. The living compartment is small, but it has a bed that allows you to skip time by going to sleep while the Hydra is traveling on autopilot to get to your destination faster, as long as you've been there before. Now, if you happen to run into your friendly neighborhood Leviathan on your way to the Void Clusters while on autopilot, you will of course be woken up, but at that point, you've already been spotted, so there's some danger to this as well. Now, this last part, I'm not sure of at all, so please let me know what you think in the comments. I thought that instead of the regular upgrades you're used to from other vehicles, the Hydra could utilize a skill tree, similar to how some games let you develop your character's abilities. Here you could unlock slots by cataloging anomalies and making your path through the tree. Now, of course, the major advantage of this system is that you have a lot more flexibility, and it actively rewards you for seeking out anomalies and incentivizes exploration. The only real disadvantage I can think of is that it's a bit more complicated than a regular system and might take a bit of getting used to, but I really wanted something that lets you experiment with different builds for your submarine. Just gives it a lot more replayability as well. It could even have branching paths, which means going down certain paths would lock you out of others or unlock completely new ones. We can even do different themes for these paths. For example, going down the tech path versus an organic path or a crystalline path. The tech path would allow you to utilize cutting-edge technology with things like shields, jump drives, or decoys. The biological path would help your submarine blend in and reduce the chances of being attacked and have some unique features like letting it filter out oxygen off the water or utilizing the local fauna for some other effects. While the crystalline path would help reinforce your hull, for example, and let you utilize powers of raw crystals you find without needing to adapt or integrate them with technology, which makes them a lot more powerful. Again, I don't know about this. This could not work at all, but I think it's a really interesting idea. Of course, you wouldn't necessarily need to go down the crystalline path to make sure you can utilize the crystals. I would like the player to use any crystals they find no matter what paths they go down, but it could give you an advantage. And these crystals are the last big thing about the submarine. You can power it with regular power cells or ion power cells, but you can also use the crystals. Some crystals give you more power, and others just have special advantages. For example, to utilize the warp drive, you need to also use warp crystals, which are what the precursors used to create the warpers, at least in this version of the story. So depending on which type of crystal you choose, you can get access to new upgrades or unlock new abilities for your submarine. I think that could be really cool. Now, the way this would work with the different upgrade paths is if you, for example, went down the tech path, you could utilize Altera technology to create something that extracts the power from the crystals. This would, however, diminish their power, so you would get a similar effect, but not quite as strong. If you went down the crystalline path, you can just plug in the raw crystals and it would just work. And if you use the organic path, for example, maybe the crystals would have an effect on the organic parts of your submarine, and it would be a similar story to the tech path. Please let me know what you think on my Discord server or in the comments. Which parts do you like, what don't you like, and what do you think I should change or add? I could really use some feedback here, so I'm looking forward to your ideas. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, and as always, I'll see you next time. Goodbye!
And that means the same for me, everyone. I'll see you guys in another crazy YouTube video. See ya.